UGA Football News presents today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall. On today's Sports Report, we'll talk about University of Georgia football and more. Today's Sports Report is brought to you by Happy Sewing and Quilting, offering products that will help you show your Bulldog pride. Hall Shots Photography, going above and beyond to provide pristine and professional photography for all of life's greatest moments, plus many other fine sponsors. And now, here's your host of today's Sports Report, Chris Hall.
Well, hey, how you doing? It's good to have you with us today on today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall. I'm Chris Hall, and it's good to be back. Our program has not been canceled because of COVID, thank the Lord, but boy, have we had some games canceled around the nation and in the SEC because of COVID-19 concerns. And, of course, last week, we talked a whole lot about Georgia and Vanderbilt and built up the game and looked forward to the game, and then there was no game. And, of course, we understand it because of COVID-19 concerns. But the Bulldogs, let's just cross our fingers and pray that the Bulldogs will be back on the field this coming Saturday noontime as they'll be taking on a red-hot team, the Missouri Tigers. And we'll be talking about that game as well coming up in just a few minutes. And also we have one of our favorite people in all of the world that's going to join us on our program today. He's the sports director for one of the great heritage television stations in the state of Georgia, WMAZ, out of Macon, Georgia. And that's our main man, Marvin James. We'll talk to Marvin in just a minute. Matthew, how you doing today? You good?
Doing great. Great to be with everyone out there today. Definitely felt naked with no Dawgs game this past Saturday, but looking forward to being dressed back with a new game this weekend.
Yeah, it should be good. And by the way, we have some big news for you guys. Our podcast, our podcast is on several different platforms, all the major platforms. You can find today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall, but we've got some big news. We have a website now where you can find all of our podcasts. They're all archived there. And anytime you want to just stop in and listen to one of our podcasts or find contact information or other information that you would want to find, you can go to sportsreport.com. That's sportsreport.com, all lowercase, and you'll find us there. A brand new website. We're really excited about that. We'll have links to different places of importance. You can send us an email. You can contact us. We're pretty proud of that website, aren't we, Matthew?
Absolutely. Great, great new thing we have, and a great new connection tool to the listeners and anyone else out there that would want to get in contact with us. So we're proud to have that.
All right. So coming up this Saturday, it'll be Game 9 of Georgia's 2020 football season. The 6-2 Bulldogs, ranked now number 9 in the country, according to the latest college football playoff rankings. The Bulldogs will be traveling up to Missouri to take on the 5-3 Tigers. All of a sudden, a very hot football team. The 5-3 Missouri Tigers in a game that was supposed to take place on November 14th, but due to COVID-19 issues, that game was postponed. The SEC has rescheduled that game to take place December 12th, this Saturday. Kickoff is 12 p.m., and the game will be televised by the SEC Network. Now, Missouri's 5-3, and Missouri made an appearance in the latest college football playoff rankings, ranked number 25 in the country. So it'll be two ranked teams, the Georgia Bulldogs and the Missouri Tigers, coming up on this coming Saturday. Now, last week's game between the Bulldogs and the Vanderbilt Commodores was canceled, and so the Bulldogs have not played in 2 weeks, and now they're on the road to take on Missouri. The Tigers have won 3 in a row, and they have scored points in bunches the last 2 weeks. In fact, last week, Missouri beat Arkansas in an exciting game, almost a last-second win for Missouri, 50-48. Not much going on as far as defense is concerned in that game between Missouri and Arkansas last week. Missouri's got a hot quarterback. He's a freshman, Connor Bazelak. He's completing 70% of his passes, has thrown only 2 interceptions in 258 attempts, averaging 7.8 yards per attempt. He's connected on, he set a school record for passing yards by a freshman, 2,002 and counting. And so Georgia will be taking on Missouri in a game that, of course, was rescheduled because of COVID-19. So Georgia's coming in playing pretty good. Missouri's playing pretty good. Matthew, I don't know. This is one of those games where you got to just say, okay, Bulldogs, let's get out there. Let's show the dominance that we need to show. Let's get ahead, and let's never look back, don't you think?
Yeah.
Let's don't give Missouri any hope of beating the Bulldogs.
No, absolutely not. I mean, Georgia has to, cannot take this game for granted. Again, this is also a noon kickoff game where, if you look back over the last few seasons, Georgia has struggled in some of those contests at the noontime kickoff. So that's kind of a situation you could throw in there. Also, again, Mizzou looking really good. Won 5 of their last 6 games. Snuck into the college football playoff rankings at 25 this last time. But they're pretty hot right now, pretty hot team. I mean, Georgia cannot take them for granted. And you're traveling to Mizzou as well, so you're going to have some jet lag, and you're going to have a noon kickoff time. You're going to have to play. You're going to have to be prepared to play.
And it's been 2 weeks since the Bulldogs have been on the field. But we're pretty confident that Coach Smart will have the guys ready. You just don't want any of those early game turnovers and that kind of thing. Just play a good, solid game, and Georgia should win. Well, let's get on the horn, as they say, and talk to one of our favorite guys in all of the world, Marvin James, who is the sports director for WMAZ in Macon, Georgia, one of the great heritage television stations in the state of Georgia. I have I've watched Marvin many a time give us some good sports reports. Marvin is a graduate of Warner Robins High School, and he was awarded an athletic scholarship to play for the Georgia Southern University Eagles in football. Marvin, it's good to have you with us. How you doing today?
Hey, how are you guys? You are 2 of my favorite people as well, man. Good to be back on the phone with you.
Yeah, they did. Well, Marvin, every time we have someone come in as a guest, in COVID, with the COVID-19 thing going on, one of the things we do is we really try to take care of our neighbors. We check in on our neighbors, make sure that our neighbors are doing well. So we want to check in with you. You're our neighbor. So how have you fared in the COVID-19 era? And I know things have been different at the television station. So how are things been going with you and your family?
Absolutely. Things have been different. That's probably the best way to put it. Matthew and I have we've talked a few times, not as much as we usually have during this time of year, but things have been different since March, St. Patrick's Day. They sent us home, and we've been working from our home studios, which has been my kitchen, actually, and really side nook my wife cornered out for me. But we've been working home since March. Around the end of October, I got a call that I would be allowed to come back into the station. Still isolated in a conference room outside of my office space. It's only myself in here. But prior to that, we were allowed to work the softball games, work a lot of the local games, the football games and cross country meets and things like that. So we're encouraged. Not encouraged. We're told to mask up, and so we're masking up and trying to promote social distancing. It's hard in the South when we're so used to saying "Hey y'all" and shaking hands and all that good stuff. So we've adjusted quite a bit, but we still speak to each other, and I think we're willing to do whatever the rules are, so we're able to continue to have sports and promote these kids. So we've been excited to do that.
Yeah, I was out and about today, in fact, and I was smiling at people. I was saying hello and smiling at people, and then I got to thinking about it. They don't know if I'm smiling or not. I could be sticking my tongue out at them, it's just kind of weird. Well, I have appreciated what kind of good friend you have been to Matthew Hall. Of course, you guys have, Matthew, I know you and Marvin have roamed the sidelines at Sanford Stadium taking pictures. And you guys have become good comrades in cameras, I guess, right?
Yeah, I mean, guys, and I'll speak first right here on this. I want to say, Marvin has been, words can't describe how much of appreciation I have for him. He was first individual that ever actually took me out on the field at Georgia, just a day I'll never forget. And then, of course, we're friends prior to that, but that's just a day I'll never forget, and something I'll never forget, about Marvin, that he did that for me, brought me out as his guest, one time. And then, of course, fortunately, I've been blessed enough to get out there on my own some with another group, and just cannot really say thanks enough to the mentorship and just the friendship and the friendship altogether all around that Marvin's been to me personally.
Yeah, well, we appreciate it, Marvin, so very much. Now, of course, you spend a lot of time in covering high school football, and of course,
yes,
we have listeners from around the country. In Middle Georgia, high school football is a big thing. You have a lot of fun with that. I used to love to watch the Friday Night Frenzy and all the. So, are you still into that? Are you still able to do that at some kind of level like you used to?
Yes, sir. Actually, the first, I want to say, first 5-6 weeks, we were working remotely. We were sending all of our video from the field, meaning I wasn't live. I was recording, me speaking at the games and shooting all that, and then sending it into the studio. Frank was Frank Malloy, our main anchor. He was solo anchoring that show. And then towards the end of the month, I think Halloween week, that's when we got the call that we were able to go in there. So we've been hosting together since then. So all of November and all of December, knock on wood, we're going to be able to host together. We're still practicing social distancing inside the studio. So he's on one side of the studio and I'm on the other, but it's a lot more fun. The show is definitely designed to have interaction between one another, and we're definitely taking advantage of that. We just love, the game, and we love being around each other, and it's been great for the community because it's a chance for them to kind of relax and take their mind off of all the stresses and tension of everything that's been going on in the world in 2020. So it's definitely a chance for people to kind of lay their head back and just kind of relax.
Yeah, I'm so glad we're having sports because it is an outlet. And, I know that it's been a struggle at some level, especially on the college level. For instance, Ohio State and Michigan will not be playing this Saturday, the first time in who knows how many years. And so the Big Ten's got a little mess. ACC's kind of navigated okay, but we've had some games in the SEC Council as well. Of course, on our program, we talk a lot about the Georgia Bulldogs. Give me your impression of the 2020 edition of the Georgia Bulldogs.
Well, I think I'm not really surprised. I think that we all kind of didn't know what we're going to go into, in the post-Jake Fromm era. It's funny, you don't really miss something until it's gone. There was a lot of complaints towards the end of the season about Coach Coley and how the way that Jake was kind of maneuvering the offense in Georgia, and then he leaves, and then you don't really know what you had. You just had a guy who took you to the SEC championship 3 years in a row, a national championship, and then you don't know what you're going to have at the controls. And obviously, the signal caller, the quarterback, is one of the most important positions on the field. It's not the important position. So going into that and losing Jamie Newman before he even took a snap, really left Georgia not knowing in what direction that they would go. And so, it's not a storybook, so we kind of know that this is going to happen. You got guys who don't have experience. And not saying they're not good players, not saying that DeJuan Mathis wasn't a good player, but, it just seemed like something was off a little bit in his early development. And then, Stetson Bennett, I think everybody was rooting for Stetson. But I think we all knew that he had a ceiling just because, this is the SEC. It's the top of college football. And, not saying that he's not a good player, but it's just one of those things where you need a little bit more. And JT Daniels obviously was hurt, or he would have been playing. I think, a lot of people sometimes our fans the fan base can get a little overzealous and critique, but obviously Kirby Smart wants the best for the team, and if JT was available, I'm sure he would have been playing, but obviously he was hurt. But now he's coming in his own and he's looking pretty good, and we still don't know. We've only seen 2 games of him. We don't really know. We don't know how battle tested he is in the SEC anyway. So I think that this is pretty indicative of what a lot of college football teams have gone through. You miss out, spring. You don't have a lot of summer, and so a lot of people are just trying to find their way. And Georgia still can call this a successful season. Although they're not an SEC championship, and that's debatable with some, but this has definitely been something that I think has been kind of impressive considering everything that's happened in 2020.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, and just like what you said, you brought up, you don't know, what you have till it's gone. I mean, Jake was just, Jake, especially in the last season, I mean, didn't really have a whole lot, receivers to throw the ball to. I mean, it was just really, it was just really a tough season on Jake, whereas, the years before he had somebody that he could consistently throw the ball to and trust, at the wide receiver position, and it worked out a lot better. I mean, Jake took a lot of heat, I think unwarrantedly, and, Jake was a great quarterback, great person. I mean, it's kind of tough, to be, it seems here recently over the last few years, it's kind of tough to play quarterback position at the University of Georgia. And just like you said, I mean, even with JT Daniels, the success that he's had in the first 2 games, I mean, it looks great so far, but you just don't know what the future holds. I think he's coming into his own, like you said. So hopefully, he'll be successful moving forward for the Dawgs. Definitely.
Yeah, we certainly hope so, and he looks sharp so far. So, Marvin, hang around with us. We're going to take a break, and then we're going to get some predictions. And to be honest with you, for full disclosure, Matthew and I are terrible at these predictions. But we have a lot of fun doing it, and we'll just focus in on the SEC. We have some interesting games coming up this coming Saturday. So if you don't mind, hang around with us, and we'll let you join in on the fun. How about that?
That sounds great to me.
All right, good deal. We'll be back in just a moment on today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall.
Don't go away. We'll be back in just a moment with more of today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall.
Hall Shots Photography, featuring the work of award-winning photographer and Georgia football lover Matthew Hall, is a proud sponsor of today's Sports Report. While Matthew is at home on the sidelines of Sanford Stadium taking beautiful action shots of another Bulldog victory, he also specializes in other types of photography, including landscapes, portraits, weddings, and promotional photos to help promote your business or your special cause. Matthew is also a trained videographer, and he loves capturing those always exciting high-in-the-sky drone shots. Matthew has been the camp photographer for various football camps, including those featuring Roquan Smith, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, and other Bulldog greats. You can check out Matthew's work on Facebook at Hall Shots Photo and on Instagram at Hall Shots Photography. You can contact Matthew at hallshotsphotography@gmail.com. That's hallshotsphotography@gmail.com. Matthew has a camera, and he'll travel to get that right shot for you. Contact him today.
Happy Sewing and Quilting is a proud sponsor of today's Sports Report. Happy Sewing and Quilting offers custom and professionally made items that will help you show your Bulldog pride. How about a custom and professionally made 100% cotton face mask featuring beautiful Bulldog fabric? Of course, everyone in your family will need more than one. And just like the Bulldogs on game day, Happy Sewing and Quilting can and will deliver. From custom-made face masks to baby bibs to tote bags and more, Happy Sewing and Quilting will help you get ready for game day or any day you want to let the world know you love the Georgia Bulldogs. If you're interested in items featuring the colors and logos of other teams, or if you're interested in non-sports related items that meet your taste and show off your style, Happy Sewing and Quilting will be more than happy to help you. For more information, you can contact Happy Sewing and Quilting at ahall1921@hotmail.com. That's AHALL1921 hotmail.com. Contact them today.
Thank you for joining us, and welcome back to today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall.
And we're back on today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall, and our very special guest, Marvin James, is with us. Marvin is the sports director for WMAZ Television, Channel 13 in Macon, Georgia. Marvin, how long have you been at WMAZ?
This past May, I celebrated 21 years.
Wow.
So, 21 pecan seasons, as we say down here in the South Coast. I've been excited to be here. This year has been a little different, but it definitely has taught me a lot, and I'm excited to go a few more.
Yeah, well, it's so good to have you with us today. We appreciate you taking time to join us today. And before we get into our picks, did I see where you have a daughter graduating from high school? We're Facebook friends. Did I see that? Is that right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. My youngest, my oldest, my only daughter, Jasmine Drew, is a senior at Warner Robins High School, and she didn't take up for the sports aspect. She's into the arts, the fine arts. So she's an actress, a young thespian, and so she does that a lot, and she's excited, and hopefully being able to complete that later in January, February. But yeah, she's looking forward to graduation. She's already doing dual enrollment, but she's looking for school. So we're hopefully we're going to have her our unofficial signing day, as we like to joke around in our house. Coming out soon in the new year.
Well, congratulations to her.
Congratulations to
Thank you. Thank you all very much.
All right, well, let's get into the SEC schedule for this coming week. And, of course, we've talked about the Georgia-Missouri game, and we'll jump into that one first. Georgia's 6-2 on the year. Missouri, ranked number 25, 5-3 on the year. Georgia, of course, did not play last week because of the game with Vanderbilt being postponed because of COVID-19 concerns. Missouri had a wild game. I watched some of that, the last part of that game. Missouri had to say the least, a wild game with Arkansas. Missouri coming back with like 40-something seconds left to drive down the field, kick a field goal, and they beat Arkansas 50-48. So Georgia traveling to Columbia to take on the Missouri Tigers. I think it's going to be a tough game. The line on the game is Georgia like, I don't know, an 18-point favorite or something. It may be closer than that. I
believe it's 13. Yeah.
Is it 13? I'm going to go with Georgia, but this may be more of a game than we would like to see. What do you think, Marvin?
Well, the only part that scares me a little bit, just like Matt talked about earlier in the show, that it's a noon kickoff. That's an early kickoff for those guys. Sometimes they have a hard time waking up to those things. And also, if we think about it, during this time of year in December, Georgia's usually gearing up for a game that really, really matters.
Right.
That's the SEC championship. So I'm hopeful that the guys are still dialed in and still connected and still knowing they have a lot to prove for the rest of this season. Sometimes, we haven't been in Athens. We haven't seen a lot of opting out outside of Jamie Newman, and that was even before he played. But and he doesn't really even count as far as part of the squad. So I don't think any of the guys are letting go. I'm not saying that at all, but I think that's something that just is in the back of my mind. Are these guys? Because I was there when we played Texas in that Sugar Bowl.
Oh yeah,
and it was not a good feeling.
No, that was a terrible game.
It was a terrible game, and it was a game that I guess to the standards didn't mean anything. But no, when it comes down to the X's and O's, I think Georgia obviously trumps everybody at every position. I think that JT Daniels is excited to go out there and show. The rushing attack is excited to go out there and kind of show some balance a little bit, because we haven't really had a balanced game yet with JT under center. So hopefully we can go there and do that. And we can get some of these guys back. I heard Richard LeCount may be coming back this week, or if not this week, maybe next week. So I think the defense is still in tune. I think that this is still a Georgia team. They're better than being ranked number 9. And I think they're going to show up and kind of really show that they still have something to prove.
Yeah. Well, what about it, Matthew? Missouri, Georgia?
Yeah, 12 o'clock game, just like you mentioned. Been tough for Georgia, but I just think, for whatever reason, I think Georgia does have something to prove here going, to finish off the season, and I think they show up ready to play for this game.
Yeah, okay. We have Alabama visiting Arkansas. This will be in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Alabama last week had no mercy on LSU, beating LSU 55-17. Of course, Arkansas, we've already talked about, lost to Missouri 50-48. It's just Alabama is so good, Marvin. They are so good. I'm pretty well convinced that they are indeed the best team in the country. Somebody's going to have to really play a good game to beat Alabama. Mac Jones at quarterback. Oh, they have so many weapons. What about it? I'm obviously going with Alabama. What about you?
Yeah, Alabama is just that team to be reckoned with. Coach Saban continues to do a great job, and I mean, and every year out, consistently they are. I won't say heads and tails, because last year LSU obviously had a pretty good season for the record books, but outside of that, Alabama just usually heads and tails better than everybody else, and they're showing that. You lose a guy like Waddle, and they're still able to continue to go at full strength. Devontae Smith, I mean, he's just been breaking hearts all across the SEC. It seems like for 5-10 years now. So I guess we'll all be glad to see him go off into the NFL. But they're just going to continue to show. And shout out to Arkansas. They got robbed in Auburn that one game, and I think that they have really showed a lot of improvement under Coach Pitts, and I think that they're Pittman, and I think they're going to continue to do better. But they're unfortunately just in the path of a juggernaut this week.
Yeah, what about it, Matthew?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Alabama, no question, in my opinion, the best team in the country. I mean, Mac Jones already over 3,000 passing yards. Najee Harris another 1,000 yards rushing. Devontae Smith, I mean, with the one-handed catch he had in the last game that should be, in my opinion, the catch of the year. I mean, Felipe Franks and he's been up and down. I mean, injury prone. I mean, Pittman's done a great job, I think, with the Arkansas team and as head coach there, and tip my hat to him there. But in this matchup, I mean, there's no contest. I mean, Mac Jones and Alabama roll.
Okay, we have Tennessee and Vanderbilt. Seems like we predicted this game last week, and we did, but that game was canceled because of issues with Vanderbilt, I believe, and Tennessee both. Tennessee lost last week to Florida, 31-19. Tennessee put up a valiant effort, but man, Florida and Tennessee's really bad. They're really bad, and they lost to Florida, 31-19. Vanderbilt, of course, has not won a game. Derek Mason fired as the head coach. Tennessee, Vanderbilt, and last week, if I remember correctly, I picked Vanderbilt to win this game, and I'm going to stick with it. Vanderbilt's going to get a victory in this year. So what do you think, Marvin?
I don't think so. I watched that Vanderbilt. I watched that. Not so fast, my friend.
I got you, brother. I got you.
I watched that Vanderbilt-Missouri game a couple weeks ago, and it was awful. I mean, I tell you, I was watching just to see, check out how Sarah Fuller was going to do, and it was so bad.
Yeah.
Tennessee wins that game big going out. Yeah. I just can't see it. Vanderbilt just had so many issues that I think they definitely have given up on the season.
Yeah. And Sarah Fuller, of course, the first woman to play in an SEC game for an SEC team. I guess is she still? I hadn't seen this. Is she still on the roster with the?
I believe she still is. I mean, they've been having, issues, and one of the things people were wondering about, well, why didn't they get a guy, to play, guy soccer player? Was they don't have a men's soccer team because they got rid of it back in 2005. So I think she's still hanging around. Yeah. They only have a couple more games, so.
Okay.
We'll see.
We'll see. All right, Matthew, what do you think? Tennessee, Vanderbilt. Matthew's going to go with my Commodores. I can tell, right?
Yeah, and I'm gonna have to say no to that. I mean, look, Tennessee played a good game last week against Florida. I think they bring that momentum into this game and really try to to make sure that they get a win. I do think it will be a closer game than what is to be expected. I'm going to pick Tennessee 27, Vanderbilt 24 in this game.
Okay. Both of you will owe me a steak dinner when you see Vanderbilt.
I will definitely hit you up as soon as that game goes.
I got you, brother. Okay, Auburn At Mississippi State, Auburn lost last week to Texas A&M 31-20. Mississippi State did not play last week. Auburn, they're 5-4 on the year. Mississippi State 2-6. I believe the Malzahn era may be coming to an end at Auburn. I'll pick Auburn to win, but Mississippi State played so good against Georgia. I would not be surprised if Mississippi State didn't win this game. What do you think, Marvin?
Yeah, Mississippi State has been kind of a Jekyll and Hyde, too. I think when they started the season off, that big win over LSU, we didn't really know what LSU had. And, we thought that maybe the Leach era was going to be on fire starting out. But it just hasn't been the case. And they've had some serious issues with COVID this season, missing some players and a lot of folks opting out. Auburn, I think the Gus Malzahn area is in jeopardy, unfortunately, with that big-time money they're owed him. Yeah. I just don't know if they can afford to get rid of him.
All right.
And I think that's another situation with Bo Nix. I think that they kind of, the Auburn fan base doesn't really appreciate what he's been able to do. And I'm not I'm not an Auburn fan, but, the kid really has moxie, can play the game.
Right.
It also doesn't hurt when you got one of your transfers going to Liberty and he's lighting up the whole country as well. So
that's true.
But I'll take Auburn in this one in a close with maybe 7-10 points.
All right, Matthew, what do you think?
I'm gonna go. I know this is gonna sound out of the way here, but I'm actually gonna go with Mississippi State. I mean, they're the home team in this game. Auburn. I mean, Bo Nix, great athlete, but been, I think, highly underutilized. And he's had an up and down season. I mean, beginning of the year he struggled a good bit, and then he got on fire, and then faltered off back on fire. So I'm actually going to go with Will Rogers. I think that Will Rogers will have, a great game at home, and I think Mississippi State will pull off an upset.
All right. So he didn't have the bravery to pick Vanderbilt, but he's going to pick Mississippi State. Okay. Let's see. Ole Miss. Let's see. Ole Miss and Texas A&M. Ole Miss did not play last week. They're 4-4 on the year. Texas A&M 7-1 beat Auburn 31-20 in College Station. And you got to go with Texas A&M. What do you think, Marvin?
Yeah, the Aggies have been quietly, impressive. I mean, I think with all this year going on, I think I looked up last week and they were talking about Texas A&M is in the top 10 and top 5, and I was like, what?
Yeah, I think they're 5. They're 5 now, right?
And I said, man, these guys have been really killing it. So, good for him, good for Jimbo, and I think. Watching Texas A&M last year, Matt, were you at that game with me last year?
I was. I sure was.
Yeah. So watching them last year, they weren't really impressive, I think the Fighting Lane Kiffins have improved, tremendously this year as well. But obviously, you got to go with Texas A&M.
Yeah. What do you think, Matthew?
And this time I know it's going to sound crazy. I know Texas A&M's played great. Number 5 team, Kellen Mond's been really good. But after a while, I mean, personally, I watched Ole Miss play in their last game, and Matt Corral really, I was really impressed. I mean, he's got 2,744 passing yards on the year. He is not scared to throw the ball downfield at all. And so I'm actually going to pull, a second upset this week. I think Ole Miss somehow, some way, pulls it off.
Yeah, I'm going to have to talk to Matthew's mother, Marvin. I don't know what he ate today, but he's pulling all these upsets on us here. And that's all the games we're going to look at. Really quick, Marvin, what do you think about Shane Beamer's hire at South Carolina? As the young guy, formerly with Georgia, I think, as a special teams coach. What do you think about that hire by South Carolina, the Gamecocks?
Well, I think it's in the right direction. I think that Shane, obviously has done some good things. He's learned under Kirby Smart. Then he went over to learn under Lincoln Riley. So I think that they're headed in the right direction. It's a tough position to be at over there in Columbia, because it's just one of those programs that you think you can win, you can win, but it's so tough in SEC. One loss and you're almost out for the whole season. So I thought maybe they would look at Jamie Chadwell over at Coastal Carolina, since he was in state, and that might help with recruiting. But I think Coach Beamer has enough name recognition because I believe his dad was a pretty okay coach. So
yes, he was.
That's one of those things. That's one of those things that I think is going to help them out in the long run.
Speaking of Coastal Carolina, where did they come from? I mean, they beat BYU last week. Oh,
yeah.
Coastal Carolina? I mean, seriously? What do you think about that program?
They're in the conference with Georgia Southern in the big what is it? Sun Belt.
Yeah.
So this has been a great year for them. You know, things have just been clicking. That coach Jamie Chadwell has been doing really great for them, and I think it's been an incredible run for them this year. They haven't been like this in years past. They've been knocking on the door, 2, 3, 4 lost seasons. But this year they got it going on. I heard at one point somebody was talking about Ohio State needs to call Coastal and see if they can throw a game together since they're not afraid to play anybody.
There you go.
So yeah, I'm excited for them just because they're in the conference with my Georgia Southern Eagles. But yeah, it's always a good story to see what they can do. If you remember, a couple of years ago they won the Baseball World Series,
right?
And that was like amazing to know that a school of that small stature can match up with the big D1 boys. So yeah, it's always a good story when you see a team like that, have success.
Well, Marvin, for myself, thank you so much for taking some time to be with us on our program today. It's been such a thrill for me to have you with us, and I know for Matthew as well, right?
Definitely. Thanks for coming on today, Marvin. Appreciate your love and your friendship.
All right, my man.
Absolutely. Anytime I can help you guys out, give me a call.
Thank you.
My prayers are with you and the family. Y'all be safe.
Yes,
all
sir.
Right.
Same as well.
Be safe as well. All right. It's been our pleasure to have Marvin James with us today on today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall. Well, that's going to wrap up our program for today. Any last words, Matthew?
No, just everybody be safe out there. 12 o'clock lunch, be ready up and early on Saturday, ready for the game, and go Dogs.
Get your bologna sandwich and potato chips and a Coke, and you're ready to go. All right, well, that's going to do it for today's Sports Report. Again, we have a new website. We'd love for you to check it out, todaysportsreport.com. All lowercase and all spelled together, of course, as you do. todaysportsreport.com. At that website, you'll find all of our programs, link information, and more information as well. Today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall is a presentation of Hall Sports Communications. The executive director or the executive producer of today's Sports Report is Trip Block. Our technical advisor is Garrett Carter. The director and board operator for today's program has been Charles Graham. To contact Hall Sports Communications, you can email us at chrishall71@hotmail.com. That's chrishall71@hotmail.com. You'll also find a link at our new website, todaysportsreport.com. We thank our sponsors, Hall Sports Photography and Happy Sewing and Quilting, for making our program possible. If you're interested in being a sponsor for our program, contact us today. Thank you for joining us for our program today. We look forward to having you with us next time. Until then, please be safe out there and may God bless you.
Thank you for joining us for this edition of today's Sports Report with Matthew Hall. We thank our many fine sponsors for making our program possible. Be sure to join us for our next program as we keep you up to date with University of Georgia football and more. Until then, be safe and go Dogs.